Good morning and welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of October 21st, 2021. Per Executive Order N-08-21, which suspends certain requirements of the Brown Act, this meeting will be conducted entirely by teleconferencing. Per the Brown Act, we have posted a notice of the meeting agenda 72 hours in advance. This meeting is being conducted on a Zoom webinar platform. Members of the public may participate and provide comments by accessing the meeting online or by calling into the meeting. Instructions are included on the city's website and on today's agenda. So with that, I'd now like to take a roll call. As I call your name, please indicate if you are present. Commissioner Austin?
Present.
Commissioner Boomhauer?
Present.
Commissioner Malbrough?
Present.
Commissioner Modane?
Present.
Chairman Hoffman is present. Commissioner Otsuji and Vice Chairman Whalen are absent. The staff members online with us today are Tim Daly from Development Services, Tate Galloway from the Planning Department, Sean Torres, City Engineer, and Corinne Neufer, Deputy City Attorney. With that, now we'd like to start our agenda. And our first item is public comment for non-agenda items. This portion of the agenda is an opportunity for the public to make comments on planning related items that are not on today's agenda. Any person wishing to speak will have 3 minutes maximum to provide testimony. If you'd like to speak, please click on the raised hand icon on your screen. And Sabrina, do we have any speakers?
No, I have no non-agenda public comment at this time.
Alrighty, thank you. There are no requests for items to be continued or withdrawn. And now we have an opportunity now to request any items to be placed on the consent agenda. So with that, I will open that up to Commissioner Austin.
It seems, unless there's something I'm missing, item number 1 could be placed on consent.
Second.
Okay, are there any objections to that? Just raise your hand because it just takes one and we will hear it. And I see none. So with that, that is placed on the consent agenda. This is item number 1, which is the Crown Castle Azuaga project. And at this time, we will go ahead and take a vote on this project on consent. But before we do, is there anybody who is online who wish to speak on that item? And if you do, just raise your hand by clicking on the hand icon. And I don't see anybody. Sabrina, interrupt me if someone does come on. But with that, we will go ahead and take a vote. First of all, we need a motion.
I'll move that we move item 1 to the consent calendar.
No, it's moved to the consent. Now we're going to go ahead and take our vote on it. So now I need a motion to either support staff's recommendation or.
Okay. All right, I'll do that. I move that we support staff recommendation.
Okay, Commissioner Malbrough is seconding. And with that, we will take the vote. Commissioner Austin.
Aye.
Commissioner Boomhauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Malbrough.
Aye.
Commissioner Modane.
Aye.
And Chairman Hoffman is an aye. That passes unanimously. 5-0. Okay, now we'll move on to the approval of the minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes, September 23rd and September 30th. Do I have a motion for that?
Actually, through the chair, there's a typo in the September 30th minutes in item 3. The minutes reflect that the motion was made by Vice Chair Whalen and then seconded by Vice Chair Whalen, and that can't have been what happened.
Okay, and I agree, and I believe that correction was made already. And Sabrina, can you comment?
That is
on
correct. It was seconded by Boomhauer. Austin had to recuse.
Okay,
And
and
Osuji.
and also another correction that I believe was made is on both items. It had Vice Chairman Wayland adjourning the meeting, and that was me adjourning the meeting. I believe that those corrections were made as well.
Correct.
Okay. So with that, I will take then a motion to approve the minutes. We can do them together.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Boomhauer, second by Commissioner Austin to approve the minutes. Go through a vote. Commissioner Austin,
Aye.
Commissioner Boomhauer,
Aye.
Commissioner Malbrough,
Aye.
Commissioner Modane,
Aye.
Chairman Hoffman is an aye. So the minutes are unanimously approved. There are no other changes to the agenda, so we will approve the agenda as is. And we'll go to directors' reports.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tim Daly, Development Services. I have nothing to report out for our department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tate Galloway, Program Manager of the Planning Department. We're excited to announce that at next week's Planning Commission hearing, we'll be bringing the 2021 code update, as well as the very long anticipated Barrio Logan Community Plan update. So we look forward to presenting both those items to the Commission.
Great, thank you, Kate. Are there any commission comments? Yes, Commissioner Austin.
Yes, I just want to confirm. I believe that Vice Chairman Whalen and I both term out in December. And I just want to confirm that that is the case for my own planning purposes. If we know that, if not, you just get back to me. And the other thing, I just sent you an email, but I will need to recuse from the Barrio Logan because of a new project we picked up in that area. That's next week.
Okay, and Commissioner Austin, if the past is any indication, I suspect you will be needed at least a month after the end of the year, just in time to make time to pick candidates to replace you. But so I hope you'll be able to stick around as long as necessary.
Yes, I'll do my best. If I just need warning, as much warning as possible. Thank you.
Great.
Chairman Hoffman, also Commissioner Austin, I will go ahead and notify the Office of Boards and Commissions, and we'll get back to you in regards to if there's an extended stay. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Okay, are there any other commission comments? Seeing as none, we will go right into our agenda. We have now, since we already voted on item 1, we only have one agenda item. This is the Del Mar Heights School rebuild. Staff, if you'd like to go ahead and give us a presentation.
Good morning. Hi, I am here to present the Del Mar Heights School rebuild project. Good morning, Chair Hoffman and members of the Planning Commission. My name is Catherine Rahm, and I am the Development Project Manager presenting the Del Mar Heights School rebuild project. I'm joined by the applicant and city review staff to answer questions or address comments from the Commission. Today's discussion item is a request for Planning Commission approval on an application submitted by the Del Mar Union School District for a coastal development permit, a conditional use permit, site development permit, and a plan development permit for the reconstruction of an existing public elementary school facility. The project is located at 13555 Paquita Drive on a developed 10.85 acre site in the RS13 zone, coastal non-appealable, coastal height limit, and brush management overlay zones within the Torrey Pines Community Plan area. The project proposes the demolition of 52,406 square feet of the existing Del Mar Heights Elementary School, followed by development of 66,823 square feet of new public school facilities designed to accommodate 537 students. The site is physically suitable for the design, and siting of the proposed development will result in minimal disturbance to environmentally sensitive lands. This public school facility is within a residential neighborhood adjacent to the Torrey Pines State Reserve Extension and the city's multi-habitat planning area within the Multiple Species Conservation Program subarea. Compliance with the MHPA land use adjacency guidelines, brush management regulations, and local coastal program policies would be required. The establishment of brush management zones 1 and 2 for new development are addressed on a site-specific plan to incorporate alternative compliance measures between the native vegetation in the Torrey Pines Reserve Extension and the buildings on site to minimize impacts to undisturbed steep slopes and create a safer fire break. Measures include an expanded, fully irrigated Zone 1 measuring 43 feet with no Zone 2 and dual pane windows with dual tempered glazing. The Certified City Local Coastal Program land use plans for residential development at canyon interfaces recommends project design features to be visually compatible with the character of surrounding areas. The proposed buildings include sloped and curved roof lines and are set further back from the edge of the canyon than the existing buildings. Building colors and materials shall be limited to earth tones and colors subordinate to the surrounding natural environment. Another condition of development approval for coastal projects located in the Los Penasquitos watershed is to pay the Los Penasquitos Watershed Restoration and Enhancement Fee to the Los Penasquitos Lagoon Fund for restoration of the Los Penasquitos Lagoon and watershed. Access for parking, drop-off, and pickup will remain on Boquita Drive. A new parking lot is proposed on the eastern portion of the site. The parking lot and vehicle queuing lane have been provided to reduce traffic congestion on surrounding streets. By increasing the on-site vehicle queue storage length from 317 feet to 820 feet and increasing the availability of parking stalls from 48 to 80, the proposed site plan is anticipated to reduce queuing on Boquita Drive. The Del Mar Union School District, as the lead agency for the project, prepared a mitigated negative declaration and subsequent focused final environmental impact report with findings of fact and a mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which documents, describes, discloses, and analyzes the environmental impacts of the project. Staff determined no subsequent environmental document is required in that there are no new additional impacts and no new mitigation measures are required. On June 30th, 2021, the Governing Board of Trustees of the Del Mar Union School District approved a resolution certifying the final focused environmental impact report for the project, adopting findings of fact together with the mitigation monitoring reporting program, as previously stated, and approving the project. All the impacts were adequately addressed and disclosed in the previously certified and adopted environmental document, and the current project is required to implement all mitigation measures. The city is a responsible agency under CEQA. As a responsible agency, the Planning Commission needs to make certain findings prior to taking discretionary actions for approval. Staff recommends Planning Commission approval of a city CDP, CUP, SDP, and PDP. This concludes staff's presentation. Chris Delahanty, representing the Del Mar Union School District, has also requested time to present when necessary. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We will go to clarification questions. And so before we start the public testimony, I have a couple of clarification questions, or one. And I hope this is really clarification. I just think it's important to maybe set the tone, because I think there's a lot of confusion. We've got really revolving around the EIR, the environmental review, not the whole matter. We have letters from the attorneys on both sides, kind of a battle of the attorneys here. I would just like to get staff's viewpoint. I think it was stated a little bit in the presentation, but I just want to make sure staff is comfortable going forward, that we're in a good position in terms of potential future liability and that there's a comfort level. But I'm just wondering if staff could maybe comment on that.
Yes, we have DSD review staff also on the line. And it is. Oh,
yes, hello, this is Sarah Osborne from Development Services. And the city has provided its own independent review of the project, the environmental documents and additional information submitted. And the project is the same project before us that was approved by the school district. And it was determined that the city could rely on the district's documents and that there are no new impacts.
So you're comfortable going forward in spite of all the letters that have gone back and forth. You feel the city's in a comfortable position?
Yes, I'd like to defer to the city attorney.
Thank you for that question. So I would defer to staff on the analysis that is in the certified EIR, including the MND. But as it relates to the court proceedings, there is nothing that precludes the city from moving forward today and relying upon those documents.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, are there any other clarification questions from the commission? And just raise your hand. And not seeing any, so we will go ahead with the public testimony. We'll start if the applicant can start if he has a presentation, but let me tell you the rules. First of all, I'd like everyone who would like to speak on this item, please click on your raised hand icon and leave that up so I can just count the number of speakers we're going to have. Okay, they're still populating here. Okay, there's enough speakers. I am going to allow, just because of the number of speakers, we're going to allow 2 minutes per person. If you'd like to extend your presentation, you may do so if there's someone who will cede their time to you. In this case, I'm going to allow the school district, the applicant, 5 minutes. I know it's a complicated project, but we have to really keep track of the time. We have one commissioner who has a conflict coming up and we have to have a quorum to make a vote on this. So we'll have 2 minutes. We'll allow the school to have 5 minutes. And who is the presenter for the school? Do you know?
Chair Hoffman, my name is Chris Delahanty. I'm the Executive Director, Capital Programs and Technology for the Del Mar Union School District. I will say we were under the impression we'd have 15 minutes and we tried to make it less than that, and we will cut it even a little more. But I do have our board president, Erica Halpern, and our superintendent, Dr. Harley McClurg, who have a few comments to make. President Halpern, we'd like President Halpern to start us with just a couple of comments, and I have a brief presentation, and then Dr. McClurg to close.
Okay, so how many speakers? Is this all these speakers are for the 15-minute presentation?
Correct. We have just the three, the board president, myself, and the superintendent, and I think that we have no more than 10 minutes.
Okay, Chris, you'll have with those speakers, you'll have 15. They can all speak, but they can't speak separately after. So they're basically ceding the time to this presentation. So you can do that and you'll have 15 minutes. And Chris, I am pretty strict because I want to be fair to everyone. So we'll start when you begin.
Thank you very much, sir. And so then I will ask Board President Halpern to begin.
Thank you. Good morning, commissioners, Chairman Hoffman, and all the commissioners. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Erica Halpern, and I serve as president of the Del Mar Union School District Board of Trustees. I'm here on behalf of our school board and our constituents to ask you to approve the permit applications before you to rebuild Del Mar Heights School. When the Del Mar Heights neighborhood was established in the 1950s, one of the first things built was the school. As families constructed houses on the surrounding lots and moved in, Del Mar Heights School filled up with children and became the heart of this community. The school is home to more than half a century of memories for thousands of children and their families, and it is beloved. That is why we started with the community when we developed our facility master plan and proposed rebuilding the school to replace the deteriorating and literally rat-infested structures that had become functionally obsolete. It is why the voters overwhelmingly approved our school bond to fund this new facility. And it is why from day one, our board's priority has been to involve the community as robustly as possible in reimagining this campus. We selected Baker & McGee to guide the community engagement process and capture the best thinking and priorities of every participant. Hundreds of neighbors, parents, teachers, and the members of the broader community convened to design the school in a workshop style format that was open to all comers. Starting with blank sheets of paper, these groups shared ideas and went through alternatives and iterations during 7 workshops, each of which had 2 board members personally attending. The resulting design was a welcoming campus of low-slung buildings, carefully following the natural landscape and creating the optimal learning environment by connecting every student space to the outdoors. It was a great design, but it was not the final design. Our board then spent 6 months vetting the plan, receiving public input, exploring alternatives, and weighing every consideration. The design was changed substantially 3 times to increase field space and accommodate the concerns of immediate neighbors about their view corridors. By the time our board unanimously approved the plan, it had been thoroughly reviewed and had widespread community support. As much as the design took into account multiple priorities and opinions, there is always someone who doesn't get exactly what they want, even if they get most of it. A few people have managed to hold up this project for 1.5 years, while Del Mar Heights children are displaced across 2 other campuses. Now it is in your hands to get this project underway and get our children back in school. You have before you a plan for a beautiful, well thought out, and carefully considered school campus that has broad community support. On behalf of our school board and our constituents, I respectfully request your approval of the permits that are the last step in the long road to rebuilding and reopening this school. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, President Halpern. And again, I'm Chris Delahanty. I'm the executive director with the district, and I've overseen the community engagement, design, and permitting process for the district. So this morning, I will briefly share about the robust community engagement process that we engaged in, how the site plan evolved over time with input from community members, and improvements to the site that result from this proposed design. So as we look at the community engagement process, we engage the community in an extremely robust process that extends back to before the actual rebuild began. We, in 2017 and 2018, updated our facilities master plan, and during this time, we conducted community meetings across the district, presented to the board on multiple occasions, and that final FMP led to our Measure MM bond initiative that passed in November of 2018 with over 60% of the community in favor. And this bond did call for the Del Mar Heights School Bill to be redesigned and reconstructed. When we move forward to the actual process to design and redesign and reconstruct the Del Mar Heights School, we intentionally set up a design process that would include every member of the community. And in fact, we had over 150 people in the Del Mar Heights MUR for that first session. We held 5 sessions in spring of 2019, and we moved through a process really identifying goals and facts and needs in order to come up with concepts for this design. We came back to the community in the fall of 2019 to share design updates and make adjustments. And along the way, we continued to provide updates to the board on a monthly basis from 2019 through 2020. And we continue to do so to today. As we look at the community process in general, we started with the efforts to identify the goals and needs. And so we really were putting up the goals and the needs of the community and at the end of the school and using that to build into the design. And as we moved into the design itself and the design ideas, the community helped to generate multiple options and share out pros and cons. And as President Halpern said, we literally started with blank pieces of paper with our community working with our architects to come up with design ideas. So this truly is a community generated site plan. And out of this design process, we came up with priorities for the site and for the building. And when we look at the site priorities, they really revolved around reducing congestion, improving pedestrian safety, maximizing on-site queuing, and emergency vehicle access. You can see that much of this is about the access to the campus while also maintaining neighborhood views. We actually had an accident at Dismissal a few years ago, and due to congestion on Boquita, we weren't able to get the ambulance onto the site. And so improving this queuing and parking and access was a prime priority for the community and for the school. As we look to the building, the priorities for the building really look at a campus that allows for flexible, adaptable learning. And we needed to have adaptable, interconnected, and flexible spaces. And even prior to COVID, we identified indoor and outdoor connections and fresh air being prioritized in this design. To accomplish such an interconnected design that allows all of our students to access indoor and outdoor learning spaces and also avoid impacting neighborhood views, a two-story design was dismissed by the community fairly early on. And as I said, the site plan evolved even after the extensive initial community outreach. So in order to fit within the community and complement Del Mar Heights and align with the Torrey Pines community plan, the school is designed with low sloped roofs, HVAC systems were at ground level and screened, and we designed it to have buildings primarily tucked up to the east. And further, we no longer have portables directly adjacent to the reserve, and the proposed buildings are set further back, better screened, and designed to fit within the surrounding community with the natural colors. This really illustrates this slide, the changes that have been made. So if you look from the very beginning, we have, based on community input, moved buildings further to the east and further to the east to increase field space based on community inputs. And it actually makes for better view lines that President Halpern mentioned on Murrill, Montana to the east, which is 15 to 20 feet above grade from the school. And then the renderings really help to outline this as well. So if we look at these renderings, you can again see how the buildings are moved further to the east. The low sloped roofs are made to be a little bit lower as we tried to continue to make improvements. But I think this also helps us to illustrate the improvements to the campus. And if you look at this rendering, you can see that we have made improvements, to the field. We've also added a DG path that's ADA accessible that goes around and provides walkability access. There's access all the way up to Boquita. And in addition, we have improved blacktop areas and play structures. We have learning space for learning and people to gather. And it actually improves safety because with this design, we have the school buildings made in a manner that they protect our students when they're outside from the streets and from the parking lots and provide for a great ability for our staff to be able to supervise students when they're outside. And then beyond the improvements to the site layout that I just mentioned, there are several improvements that benefit the local community and improve safety. So it was discussed in staff report, the traffic, and I've mentioned the accident that we had. But as we studied this, you can see that 500 feet, we're seeing traffic all the way up Boquita Drive. And when you have this kind of traffic, it is impacting not only the ability for emergency vehicles, it also impacts the walkability and the bikeability of the neighborhood. In the plan, we tried to move both parking and traffic and queuing onto the site, giving enough of a line so that queuing could come on site. And when we do this, it puts us in a position where we make the neighborhood and streets dramatically safer, more walkable, more bikeable. And if there is an accident or an incident or a fire of some sort, we have the ability for emergency vehicles to much more easily get on site and access spaces across our site. And then throughout the process, we ensured that we kept the Torrey Pines Community Plan Reserve extension in mind. The low sloped roofs and avoiding two-story building help to ensure the buildings fit within and enhance the community. The campus layout minimizes visibility from slopes below and light impacts were considered. And then stormwater was a major consideration as we've been looking to fix failing outfalls for some time now. And we reached out to state parks as well to gather their input and incorporated their suggestions into our plan with respect to the planting schedule on the outfalls. This image demonstrates the failing outfalls that we are trying to fix. On the west side of our campus, we have outfalls that are literally failing and creating gullies in the reserve. And part of this project would fix those and make improvements to the neighboring reserve. And then I'd also like to say, share our fire safety comparison. Student safety obviously is always a top priority for any school district, and especially here in Del Mar. This table shows some of the clear improvements that we're making, from moving from 1 fire hydrant across the full campus to 4 fire hydrants, to currently having classrooms. The closest classrooms are to the canyon edge are 5 to 10 feet away. They are portable classrooms that have no running water, no sprinkler systems, highly combustible. And portables like this are being replaced by buildings that are up to code that have enhanced fire reduction. And then as we look at the bottlenecks and the issues that we've discussed in getting onto campus, we're improving the drive on, we're improving the access, and we're making the fire lane up to code. And then finally, just to demonstrate these improvements that we're making, when you look at this slide, this slide overlays our proposed design with the current campus, and the red boxes are our new classrooms. So we intentionally have moved our classrooms, where our students spend the most of their day, to the east side of the campus, further from the edge of the campus, as opposed to the portables that are highlighted right here that, again, are combustible, have no running water, and are at the edge. We've made dramatic improvements to the safety of the campus, not only with the improvements to the buildings that we would be building, but also in the layout. So in the end, this project was designed by the community, for the community, with a focus on including the community in the process. The district is focused on student safety throughout the process, and we worked diligently with city staff and other agencies to meet the requirements necessary to rebuild the school in a manner consistent with current code and in alignment with the community's needs and the district's instructional vision. And I'll ask Dr. Holly McClurg to conclude our presentation.
Good morning. Thank you, Chris. Good morning, commissioners. Our top priorities as a district are hopefully obvious to you after that presentation. We want to have a safe and improved structure that meets the needs of our current and future students, all of our students, and this plan accomplishes both of those priorities. The current school buildings have outlived their useful lives, and they need a full replacement, and a full replacement is what the community asked for, and that is what they voted for when they approved Measure MM. Our students have been moved off this campus in order to rebuild a school. It was old and it was dilapidated, and it was in desperate need of a full rebuild. This school design incorporates features that will meet their needs, their educational needs. The project has been designed with interconnectedness so that students and teachers can use those spaces flexibly, and it has indoor-outdoor connections that allow them to collaborate and learn in settings that are, full of natural light and fresh air. And, honestly, we know now more than ever with COVID how important that is. It has adjacency and access to large, well-appointed fields and play areas that promote their student health and well-being. And it's got centrally located multi-use spaces that kids can come together and create and innovate, and beautiful views that our kids can, and ready access to nature so our kids can have this inspired and enriched experience themselves. And I think about our children being the future stewards of this community. It's important that the community, realizes and understands that we're designing a school that meets our children's needs. And unfortunately, a small group has caused this project to be significantly delayed, displacing our students and staff and costing our district millions of dollars. This is an outstanding project, and it's designed to meet the needs of our students and to benefit the community for decades to come. As a staff, we take our responsibility for educating our children very seriously, and we show them time and again that we make decisions with intentionality. Our decisions are made with purpose, and we're always thinking about doing what's right for our children. And when our other DMUSD children were attending their schools in person across our district all last year, our Del Mar Heights students and staff were off of their Del Mar Heights campus last year. It's been over a year already that our students and staff have not been at their school. And as these students move now through their second year off campus, I ask that you please support this project and help us bring them back to their home school. Thank you.
Okay, right under that's excellent presentation, and thank you for doing it in that time allotted. We will go now on to other speakers. I'll go in order as I see them here. Now, remember, everyone, you will have 2 minutes each to speak. You can go up to more if you have other speakers ceding your time. So we're going to start with Amy Hellenkamp. And Amy, you'll just have to unmute yourself, and I'll start the time when you start speaking.
I think it's unmuted.
We can hear you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for listening. Hey, this is not a rebuild. And I feel for the staff who's been deceived by this, but the residents here it's not just views. They want to make you believe that we're nervous. We're scared and we're deceived and we're angry. If you look at the pictures of Del Mar Heights, it is a school for about 360 students. And over the years, as Carmel Valley was growing and their schools weren't built, portables were put there. And it's painful when they filled those portables, but we knew it was short term. We knew it was temporary. And when the demand went down, parents asked, can you get the portables off of this campus? And they didn't. They left them there to become, as they said, rat infested. And then as Carmel Valley continued to grow in the east and they didn't want to build another school, they put them full of children again and pretended that this is Del Mar Heights School. But those kids don't want to be there. And finally, they're getting their own school in Carmel Valley. All the Carmel Valley schools are going to have capacity for their students. And when the district in 2018 presented and discussed Bond they said, look, you can either have one big school at Del Mar Heights or keep both the Hills and Heights open. They'll both be small schools because there are about 500 kids west of the 5, and that's about what it'll be forever. And we said, we do not want the danger of one big school here because of the traffic, because of the safety concerns. And so they said, okay, if is approved, it will be a rebuild of the Heights School, which we understood to be the normal population of Del Mar Heights School.
Hi, Amy.
Which currently,
Hey,
I'm going to
Amy,
tell you that.
You've exceeded your time. I've got to be fair, so thank you. And I think we got your message for sure. Let's go to next speaker, Austin Belding. Austin.
Is it working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I'm not a district employee, so my job is not on the line. In April 2019, I mistakenly believed that this was a rebuild, not a 27% expanded redevelopment. 89 unique non-district individuals attended 5 design sessions. Later that fall, 2 sessions revealed to the community, and they revealed the design to the community and gave no opportunity to impact the design. This is not what I voted for when I voted for Prop I voted for an elementary school, not a conference center. It should not take a lawsuit to keep a place for 5 to 12-year-olds to learn and play. What person who knows anything about kids thought building on the field was a good idea? The current school size without portables is much better for the space. It's on a box canyon. That's what that road is. It's a dead end. And you have traffic problems with 459 students. Stuffing more cars with a 675 to 720 physical capacity does not fix the problem. The current drop-off at Del Mar Hills includes 3-point turns on Mango. Different people blocking traffic. Why do you think this huge queue would be any different? The only traffic fix is fewer cars and fewer students. Thank you for taking my comment.
Okay, thank you. Rick, you're next, but Rick, before you begin, could you give us your full name?
Rick Schloss.
All righty, Rick, go right ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, members of the Planning Commission. Save the Field has raised serious reasons why the city of San Diego cannot allow the Del Mar Union School District to circumvent the public process and shortcut CEQA. City of San Diego ultimately is responsible agency for this project and must fulfill its own CEQA obligations and cannot rubber stamp the school district's woefully inadequate environmental documents and sidestep CEQA requirements. School districts don't get a free pass. In this situation, skip parts of the process. Key things here. CEQA findings cannot be made to support the city's environmental determination based on evidence in the record. Findings for a coastal development permit cannot be made as required by the municipal code. The project does not conform to the local coastal plan. Clearly, the project will have adverse impacts on adjacent environment sensitive lands. Other things, the proposed project is inconsistent with the Torrey Pines Community Plan, and the school district skirted around the Torrey Pines Community Planning Board, which has been left out of making a recommendation. Further, the proposed project is in a high fire danger zone next to an open space preserve, requires deviations in environmentally sensitive lands, and makes a severe deficit of a park space even worse. And other things, there actually is a way forward with alternative that works, a modernization plan that meets the student population needs, does not destroy the environment or community, but the district refuses to give up this flawed version. Here's the bottom line. Del Mar Union School District doesn't get a free pass on CEQA just because they are a school district. This project must follow the same rules applicable to every other project in the city for good reasons like health, fire, safety, environmental responsibility. Here's the final thing. There are three choices you can make today to put this on the correct path. One, deny the project. Two, just send it back to city staff, the city to take the lead agency role. And finally, an appeal is in progress. Hold an action today until there's a decision in the court. We urge the Planning Commission simply to hold the district to the proper process requirements and the rules that every other project must follow. Thank you for your thoughtful consideration.
Okay, thank you, Rick. Sandeep Patel.
Hi, I'm Sandeep Patel, community member and a parent. Thank you, commissioners, for taking our message. I think to follow up on the miscommunication and misinformation that we've seen throughout our public discourse, and especially to our school district, a judge has already ruled that the school rebuild conforms to CEQA, and your own department has ruled on consistency. The misinformation even goes to the number of students. The number of students, there's one less classroom in the rebuild than previously. You can't have students as close together as we've realized in the COVID-19 era as it was previously, and you can't have students up against a canyon. And so if you're talking about removing the portables, we agree. That's why there's going to be a brand new school that does this safely. I laugh when he says the Torrey Pines Community Planning Commission, the speaker from Save the Fields, decided not to be involved. They couldn't be involved because Save the Fields threatened them with lawsuits. You can't have it both ways. You can't sue people into silence and say, oh, they didn't have a voice. And so that's constantly been the problem with Save the Fields, which are three homeowners who are not happy with the fact that their view of the school, which was already there, won't be the same, even though they're low-sloped roofs. This will improve the environment. It's rebuilding an existing public school on existing school land. It'll handle the same number of students. And in fact, the community will be improved because right now these students are scattered throughout Carmel Valley. Think about all the transportation issues, traffic issues, smog issues if there continue to be delays here. We need to move those buildings off the canyon, as Chris showed, due to fire risk and better fire truck access. We need to do this to improve Boquita. We need to do this to improve the Del Mar Heights street traffic flow, and so people can walk to their home school. There's really no other design that's feasible to avoid fire and traffic risk. That's why this organization that poses it's called Save the Field. They view it as a field. They don't view it as a school. They don't care about the school. They don't care about the school kids. They don't care about the traffic, fire, ventilation, safety. You could redesign this 100 times and you're going to end up with the exact same plan because there are only so many ways to build a school on a mesa that's surrounded 270 degrees by a preserve. And so if you're going to protect the kids from fire, traffic, and ventilation safety, this is the design. It improves school, neighborhood, and traffic. And I hope the community do the one thing which is
Thank you very much, Sandy. You've exceeded your time there. Appreciate that. Nikki Hurst.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Thank you to Dr. Patel for his comments. And I'm just going to add on, I'm a mother of 2 young kids and I live 2 blocks from the school. I moved here a couple of years ago because I knew that the community had passed the measure by a substantial margin. And I know that the court has decided in favor of going forward with the rebuild. I want my kids to be able to attend this school, and this has been excessively delayed. Our children in our community are getting bused to other schools. It's inconvenient, it's dangerous in the times of COVID, and we need to move forward with this rebuild. We've put in a substantial amount of time and effort as a community to come up with a good plan that meets all the requirements, and we have done that. We're talking about our children here. At stake is their education and safety. And no one has made the argument that the school in its present state, 60 years old and in decay, is suitable for children to learn. It is not even safe. And parents get really upset when something threatens the safety and education of their children. The bond measure passed by a substantial margin, and the court has decided in favor of going forward with the rebuild. We need to move forward. If a politician sticks out their neck to stop the rebuild, that will anger a lot of parents. And those are the sorts of memories that really stick with you. Standing against the safety and education of our children will be front and center when they come up for re-election. It's time to put the children first. Thank you.
Okay, Nikki, thank you. The next speaker, his phone number ends in 2221. Could you please state your full name? Again, phone number ends in 2221. And Sabrina, can you let them know how to unmute their phone? Oh, there we go. There we go.
Good morning. My name is Shauna Corey. Good morning, Chairman Hoffman and members of the Planning Commission. I am a homeowner between the school and the Torrey Pines Preserve Canyon. I voted for bond measure MM, as did Save the Field members and our community. But this project is not what we voted for. We voted to modernize the existing buildings and rebuild the school on the original footprint. But the district bought a wholly new project that redeveloped the entire site. The bond measure stated that it would improve the field, and instead it's wiped it out. It's another example of a district just plowing ahead without any regard for the community, the voters, the Torrey Pines Planning Board, or the CEQA process. Today, we are asking the Planning Commission to be responsible to the residents of City Council District 1, the citizens of San Diego, and to actually follow the proper CEQA process that the school leadership has not. High risk of fire danger, a lack of evacuation plan for the neighborhood, increased traffic with increased student population, impacts to environmentally sensitive lands, and the loss of much needed recreation space are only a few of the issues. There is a reasonable alternative that was analyzed in the EIR and does what the district promised voters: to modernize the school, save the field, and follow the proper process steps. We're asking the Planning Commission to look at the serious issues raised and either deny the project today, send it back to city staff, and become the lead agency, or at a minimum, hold off any action until there is a decision on the current appeal pending before the court. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you, Shauna. Mike Milligan.
Thank you, everyone, for giving us the opportunity. Del Mar is a wonderful village, but in every village, there's idiots. Kelly Huggett, Shauna Corey, Kimberly Belding, Amy Hellenkamp are Del Mars. They're extensively involved in this design process. We made changes to accommodate them, but they've been able to put themselves ahead of our kids in our community and delay the inevitable for 18 months now. The community's designed an amazing school that will last for generations. Big thank you to Chris Delahanty and the district who've been fighting for what's right for so long. These idiots continue to reiterate they're smaller than the fire marshal and on fire safety. The idiots at Forest Place works to do a more extensive noise study on this school rebuild than they did on an NFL stadium. These idiots have said the design will cause problems from car emissions, but studies show you need 44,000 cars in under an hour to have negative effects. These idiots have made taxpayers reimburse $105,000 of their attorney fees. These idiots have prevented physically challenged people from accessing the canyon. 10 of their 13 claims got thrown out in the first day by a judge, yet these idiots have persisted. All they've heard are little kids aged 5 to 12, and all the teachers that help educate their own kids during elementary school. If we designed this school 10,000 times, we'd have the exact same plan. Our community at Heights has been hurt too. We've lost 14% of our Dad's Club members because they have older kids and they knew they wouldn't be coming back due to these delays. But today is the day we right these wrongs. We need your help to get past this. Please approve this project. It's been delayed long enough. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. But I would like to remind everyone that you need to show respect whether you're for or against. I'm not going to tolerate any more name calling. I'll just cut you off. So please be respectful to each other. Just because you have difference of opinions, please show restraint. Thank you. Chuck Weber.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Chuck Weber. I'm a fire and life safety consultant and a certified fire protection specialist. In 2020, I prepared a fire protection analysis report for the project. The analysis consisted of an overview of the environmental setting of the project and its exposure to wildland fires. Based on my analysis, I noted major issues with evacuation and traffic routes serving the project. The existing route for the school and surrounding neighborhoods does not allow for effective simultaneous evacuation and ingress of emergency vehicles due to narrow, congested, and one-way in and out streets. One of the main evacuation routes, specifically Cordero, is subject to fire burnover from the adjacent canyon with 25 to 65 foot modeled flame lengths, depending on weather and burning conditions, which will block the road, trapping people on the road and potentially causing injuries and fatalities. The evacuation times that I noted for a conservative approach using 175 vehicles, 90 residences in the vehicles and 80 parking spaces at the school was almost 2 hours long. In an emergency, a major emergency, we can add another 300 vehicles for parents coming into the school to get their kids, which resulted in an evacuation time of almost 5.5 hours. These times do not include ingress of emergency vehicles. Inadequate emergency vehicles and access of emergency vehicles and evacuation is a significant adverse impact on the project, according to Appendix G, subsection 16, transportation traffic of CEQA, and must be mitigated in the project planning documents. It appears that the project did not evaluate this impact, and as such, the findings of the project do really have not addressed public safety and cannot be met. And I would urge you to deny this project. Thank you.
Okay, Chuck, thank you. Harry Yip.
Yes, Harry Yip here. I'm opposed to building the new buildings. Modernization will be best for the population of students we have, and also the travel, the traffic that impact the conditions of fire, which is a very significant areas in this neighborhood, and the use of the space as a resort rather than a teaching institution. I yield the rest of my time to Amy, who needs to continue. Thank you.
Okay, sorry, Henry won't be able to concede your time. That you've used that up. So Jesse Barrick.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Jesse, go ahead.
Hello, Chairman Hoffman and members of the Planning Commission. Thanks for taking the time to listen to us today. My name is Jesse Barrick. I moved to the Del Mar Heights neighborhood of San Diego in 1999. My wife, Bethany, and I have 2 children that attend Del Mar Heights Elementary. I'm a crossing guard at the school, and I serve as the president of the Del Mar Heights Elementary Dads Club. The Del Mar Heights Elementary School is very old and in desperate need of reconstruction. We have worked very hard to build a large coalition to pass Proposition MM, and did so with a large majority. We've engaged the entire community to get input for the goals for the project and have done so to minimize the impacts to the neighbors. We have made additional concessions late in the process to appease 2 neighbors who live on Mare, Montana, Kelly Huggett and Shauna Corey, that have complained. It is very upsetting that our children have been displaced to other schools for so long, while these 2 very selfish neighbors have continued to waste taxpayer dollars, all in regards to their non-ocean views, as this rebuild will not block their ocean view. We urge you to respect a large coalition of people who voted for Prop MM and who want taxpayer dollars to go to educating our children and benefiting our home values and community as a whole, and not waste that money on legal fees and selfish neighbors. Please approve this project without further delay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ian Phillip.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right. My name is Ian Phillip, and I've been the PE teacher at Delmar Heights Elementary since 2004. The design process for the rebuild was open, fluid, and fair, and any community member who wished to could sit at the table with the architects themselves over the course of a year and have their ideas be heard. For nearly 60 years, the Delmar Heights Elementary has coexisted with the neighborhood, the Torrey Pines Preserve, and the city. The original plaintiffs in Save the Field lawsuit all sent their children to Delmar Heights, where our Heights family of teachers gave them everything they needed to feel empowered, supported, and safe. Now they are treating our school like a parcel that they happen to live next to instead of a vibrant center of learning for hundreds of local kids. What has it cost? Nearly $300,000 in legal fees alone, which directly affects the implementation of the shared school bond, slashing the improvement budgets at the other 7 DMUSD schools. Teacher and student displacement in the Heights community, as an extra year spent in our host schools, has forced out families who could not wait out the uncertainty. It will be 2.5 years away from our campus in the best case scenario if we start today. A huge negative impact for our school culture and community, crowded classrooms and teaching spaces at Ocean Air and Delmar Hills, compounding COVID protocols and procedures. And most importantly, an immeasurable amount of stress added to the teaching staff and students who are already teaching through the hardest 2 years of our career. The current design was approved by unanimous school board vote and has the support of the district, 100% of the Delmar Heights teachers and staff, and all 8 DMUSD PTAs. This is personal. It affects the health and livelihood of the people who work at the Heights and our ability to give our students the education they deserve. Please vote to approve this project, which is long overdue, respectful of the voters and the health of the students and teachers who wish to return to our home. Thank you.
Okay, Ian, thank you. Jonathan Soper.
Hi, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm speaking as a parent of a 3rd grader at Delmar Heights and also as a professional engineer and business owner who's worked on numerous school, community college, university, and commercial building construction projects over the last 20 years. I'd like to just start by correcting a couple of previous speakers. This project has followed the CEQA process, and it's done so thoroughly. Like many in the community, I've closely watched the progress of this project over the last 3 years and witnessed the rigorous review and comment process that has taken place. Every voice has been listened to, concerns have been thoroughly addressed, and compromises have been made along the way. I sincerely believe we now have an outstanding new school design that's ready for construction. The new school will be vastly superior to the one it replaces. It will be a state-of-the-art school that has been designed to embrace modern teaching methods. It has airy open indoor spaces with an abundance of natural light, perfect for learning, and has outdoor space tailored to the needs of the children. It provides a much safer environment for the children and staff with modern fire protection, robust buildings, and HVAC systems that improve ventilation and air quality, which is highly needed in the current climate that we're in. Local residents would also benefit hugely. Traffic flow at drop-off and pickup will improve. There's attractive new outdoor space open to the public. The new buildings are so much more aesthetically pleasing than the ones they replace. As a member of the Delmar community, I'd like to thank the school district and design team for the incredible job they have done on the Delmar Heights School Rebuild project. I'd like to thank them for their endurance, patience, and determination to move this project forward. I'm very excited for this new school to be built and for the years of benefit it will bring to the community. And I urge the Planning Commission to approve this project. Thank you.
Okay, Jonathan, thank you. The next speaker, his phone number ends in 8172. If you could please identify yourself with your full name.
Wes Huggett.
Okay, Wes, go
Hello?
ahead. Yeah, we can hear you. Go ahead and start.
Okay. Commissioners, thank you for this opportunity to speak. First, as a resident of the community who fully supports the schools, I believe we do need to upgrade the learning environment at Delmar Heights School. However, when I voted for the ballot measure in 2018, the language is for a rebuild, not a complete development. So I'm in favor of the alternative in the environmental documents of a full modernization of the existing facility. And I don't really understand why the proposed massive, actually quite luxurious school is necessary with a district that has increasing capacity and declining enrollment. Secondly, I'm not quite sure why the project, which is this large scale, will have a lasting generational significance on our neighborhood, was not fully vetted through the Torrey Pines Community Board with full resident input, or why the Torrey Pines Planning Board never voted or approved the project. There was one meeting where there was some discussion. There was an architect I know on the board had some interesting ideas. Others had some ideas as well, but for some reason the project never came back to the planning board for further discussion. I think on this development, this large, this magnitude, where you're swapping out 2.1 acres of children's play space for large concrete buildings and expansive asphalt parking lots, the community planning board should be involved. And last, but certainly not least, in the construction documents, it says there's a capacity of 670. The enrollment in 2018 was 450 students, so roughly 50% increase. Neighborhood in a very high fire danger zone, only one way in and one way out. I think it's essential and not unreasonable to ask for a full traffic study and a full evacuation plan for the safety of the students, teachers, and the neighbors. Thanks for your time.
Okay, thank you. We will go to it's the Frank family, but would the speaker go ahead and give us your full name?
Hi, this is Ethan Frank. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you for the time. Yeah, I just wanted to lend my 2 cents here. I live about two houses from the school here, and I've been involved in multiple of the meetings that the district has had, and they've been very forthright and upcoming, despite what you're hearing from my neighbors here. We did the research for you, and I know you guys don't have a lot of time, so I really appreciate you listening to us. But this Save the Field group, really, it just is comprised of a few people in Mira, Montana. And if you look carefully at where they live, I mean, honestly, it comes down to them just trying to preserve their views. They want to see grass, and they want to see ocean beyond that. They don't want to see low sloping roof lines with ocean beyond that. They will still have ocean views, but I'm sorry, this school is beautiful. And the way that they've built it, that just has to be. As I said, I live on Boquita, and that traffic queue really is a nightmare for my family. And it's dangerous. And so with this new plan, you have to cut into the field space because they're trying to get that queue off of our street here. And like, as multiple of the other speakers have said, that really is a safety issue. You might hear that there's concern for more pollution related to that. However, I'll tell you, as a resident on the street, a lot of the cars will idle in front of my house during pickup time. And with the new plan, these cars are going to be in the queue on campus, and it'll be very easy to enforce a no idling zone in that area. So in fact, probably less pollution. You've heard a lot of misinformation here in terms of the size, and that size includes after school programs. And so there's really no indication that this is a larger school. As Dr. Patel said earlier, it's actually going to have one classroom less than what's existing with these portables. So again, I would just like to say that I fully support this rebuild. I think the district has done a beautiful job, and I'm excited to get going. My kids want to be back in their school. I'd love for them to be able to walk to school now. Currently, I'm having to drive them to a bus. I'm not exactly pleased about them having to be bused right now during a pandemic. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Robert Mcgraw.
Good morning, Chairman Hoffman and Planning Commission members. My name is Bob Mcgraw, and I live in the Delmar Heights community with children attending Delmar Heights School. I fully support the rebuild, which will replace a 50-plus-year-old school with modern facilities and learning environments. It will modernize the school's field and outdoor space and mitigate the facility's impact on the environment. The rebuild process has included continuous input from educators, parents, students, and community members over the past 3+ years, and has been modified 3 times based on community feedback. While detractors may say that they haven't been heard by the district, The fact of the matter is they have participated in the rebuilds community meetings and simply disagree with the vast majority of stakeholders and hold their own set of truths and facts regarding the design that differ greatly than its reality. It really says something about these folks that they are actually paying people to be here and support their position, while threatening others with suits, such as the Torrey Pines Community Planning Board, in order to get their way. Despite this, their viewpoints have been considered, sometimes incorporated into the plan and even adjudicated. Yes, the NMD and Focus DIR has already been reviewed by a judge. Their delaying tactics have caused the rebuild to be pushed back 16 months, requiring many of us to have our children bused to other schools in the middle of a pandemic for an extra year, and creating more crowded conditions at those schools, while also delaying some of their maintenance activities. This has gone on long enough, so I ask the commission to please approve the rebuild of Delmar Heights School, and let's move forward. Thank you.
Okay, Robert, thank you. Matt Ziskin.
Thank you. My wife, Chelsea, and I are parents of 3 current students at Delmar Heights, and 1 more who will start kindergarten there next year. We have been part of the quiet majority of supporters for the rebuild for the past couple of years and become more vocal as we've seen a vocal minority do their part to sabotage the rebuild of Delmar Heights. We are strong supporters of the rebuild. If anyone has been paying attention over the last couple of years, it's very clear that a very small minority with questionable motives are the only opposition to this project. I've tried to be objective as I listen to those opposed to the school rebuild to really understand if their concerns are valid. Many we've heard from today seem to be very detached from the real issues at hand. Grasping for straws is the best way I can characterize their comments and concerns. First, they talked about green space, then it was wildfire safety. In the past, they even tried to use COVID as a reason to stop the project. The district has addressed all of the concerns raised and jumped through all the hoops put before them. Please approve this project and prevent a small but vocal minority from continuing to negatively impact hundreds of families. Thank you.
Okay, Matt, thank you. Bryce Dixon.
Thank you for having me, Chairman Hoffman. My name is Bryce Dixon. I was born in Delmar in 1979. I went to Delmar Heights in the early and mid 80s. I have a 6th grader who should be going to the Heights, but is going to Ocean Air and sadly won't graduate from the Heights because of this delay. And I have a kid in preschool who will hopefully go to the Heights if we can ever get this figured out. I just want to reiterate that we've listened to everyone in the community, and there is an overwhelming majority of support for this project in the community. The opposition has no real end game here other than to delay and extract money out of the project and the bond. They're running the same playbook with the same law firm that they ran in Cardiff, and it works, and they can get about $1 million out of it, and they know that. I just, if you guys allow them to continue to delay and extract money out of this, it just sets a terrible precedent for the rest of San Diego County and shows them that this can work and they are able to extract as much money as possible. So I think this has gone on long enough, and I hope and pray that my preschooler will be able to go to the new Heights, and it's a great project, and I thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Bryce. The next speaker has a phone number ending in 8289. If you could identify, state your full name.
Yes, my name is Enid Sherman. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you repeat your name? I'm sorry.
Enid Sherman.
Edith. Okay, Edith, go ahead.
Enid, thank you very much for this time to talk with the commission. I have lived in Delmar Heights for 31 years. My children went to Delmar Heights School. I've been a recent volunteer at the school. I'm very much in favor of a modernization of the school, not a rebuild. One of my reasons is over the years in this area, we have had no park space. Delmar has the Delmar Heights School and the Delmar Hill School, which offers some community space for people to bring their children to bring their friends to have some kind of open area to do some sorts of sports and use the playground at times when the school is closed on the weekends. There's no other place in Del Mar for that. Also, as the person who gave the fire report said, all our streets, many of our streets are one way in and one way out. I've lived here when there was a fire, and I know that there's no evacuation plan for this area. We asked for that to be done in a professional way, and I never got an answer for that. It will take forever for me to get out of my house on the street. The fire break that the field allows was something that I always thought I could get to. And that will be taken, or most of that will be taken away. Well, I thank you very much for me being able to make these comments.
Okay, thank you. Trisha Dixon.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, Trisha, go ahead.
My name is Trisha Dixon. I'm a Del Mar resident, parent to a 6th grader and a future student. And my husband, who just spoke, actually did attend Del Mar Heights several years ago. And, you know, the campus has not changed. We do need a new school for our students, staff, and community. The current school buildings are entirely unsafe and are not a reflection of our community at all. This design was born from community input. Extensive community input. More importantly, 100% of our teachers do support this design. And if we're comfortable trusting them with our children on a daily basis, we should all be comfortable trusting that they know what is best. Concerns brought up by the opposed today have all been addressed already, most of which, actually the vast majority of which, have been shot down or explained or simply said it's untrue. And it's unfortunate that they continue to bring up the same points over and over and over again. This delay has truly fragmented our school community, and your approval will be a major step forward in literally and figuratively building Del Mar Heights back to the strong community that it once was. I really thank you for your time, and I look forward to a brand new school coming up here, hopefully very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Trisha. Our last speaker is Justine Nielsen.
Thank you, commissioners. My name is Justine Nielsen, Land Use Counsel for Save the Field. Thank you for taking a look at the materials today. The CEQA issues implicated in this project are dense and complicated, and they're made even more complicated by the ongoing litigation and by the fact that the city is not the lead agency for CEQA purposes. With all due respect to city staff, as the responsible agency, the appropriate CEQA analysis is not whether there is new information which would require preparation of a subsequent or supplemental environmental document, but rather, as responsible agency, the first question the city must answer is whether the district's environmental documents are adequate under CEQA. The ongoing litigation definitively seeks to answer this very question. As a result, I urge the commissioners to ask city staff to clarify a few important points regarding the city's CEQA review of the project. First, why does the city's proposed CEQA findings resolution state that it has reviewed and considered the May 2020 M&D that was vacated and decertified by a court in 2021? Second, is the city's position that it can rely on a vacated M&D as part of the city's environmental review for this project? Third, is the city's position that it is permissible under CEQA to attach a vacated M&D as an appendix to a focused EIR? And finally, is it the city's position that the district's focused EIR, which is a tiering mechanism under CEQA, is appropriate in light of the vacated M&D? Thank you.
Okay, Justine, thank you. I don't see any other speakers. If there's anyone else, you have to click on your raised hand. Kelly Huggett, there.
Oh, yes, thank you. Sorry, I thought I had raised my hand earlier. Thank you, commissioners, for allowing us to speak. This neighborhood is a strong coalition of community members that are very concerned about what is happening right now. We voted for a rebuild and now understand that the definition of a rebuild is modernization. We absolutely want an upgraded school, but we want it in a way that is best for the health, wellness, and safety of the community. Many of us participated in the meetings. However, we just were not listened to. We are environmental stewards and advocates for safe schools, and we just can't stand by and watch the district continue to shortcut the CEQA and attempt to slam dunk a flawed project. For years, we have supported the district's plans to truly modernize the school. However, we need to avoid high fire danger right next to the Torrey Pines Reserve and save the critical recreation open space that is highly used by kids and adults, which we would lose forever. We do not believe the city of San Diego has factually made the findings necessary to approve the project based on evidence in the record. As proposed, the complete redevelopment of the site is not consistent with the Torrey Pines Community Plan or the local coastal plan, and it has not even gone in front of the Torrey Pines Board for recommendation. And I'm not aware of any kind of action against the community board. We absolutely appreciate our community board and want our community board involved in this process. And I, as a community member, have asked the district multiple times to come back and bring the parents, the teachers, and the community together. That whole process has been circumvented. I've stood and spoke to a board member.
Kelly,
2019.
sorry to interrupt you. That is your time. Thank you for those comments. I believe that is the last speaker. No, one more speaker, Linyo Yang.
Hi, thank you for the time. I have been listening and I wasn't going to talk, but I just can't sit here and listen to all the lies that have been spoken at so many board meetings and so many, discussions that we've had prior. I have been involved as a parent of Del Mar Heights with 2 kids currently at school since from the very beginning. When my daughter was 5, my son was 3. We walked around the neighborhood handing out flyers for all the community members to go attend the meetings. And the district has really put in such a thorough process to involve the community members, get inputs. So I urge the board, I'm not going to repeat all the things that all the other people who are supporting this project. It's all for, I have all the same reasons. I really urge the board to approve this project so our kids can go back home. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. And so with that, I am going to, seeing no other speakers, I'm going to go ahead and close the public testimony portion.
Chairman Hoffman?
Yes.
I would like to go ahead and have Deputy City Attorney Newfer respond to a question or some issues. So Corinne, if you could go ahead and respond.
Yes, but why don't we,
before you start.
I just wanted to clarify a point.
Yes.
Thank you, Chair Hoffman. There was one comment on the MND that was vacated by the court. That is included in your resolution because the findings in the analysis was included in the focused EIR that was certified by the district. So the findings in that analysis that was found to not be deficient was incorporated into that focused EIR. And that is the action that you're being asked to take today. Thank you.
Good, thank you for that clarification. I did actually, and I didn't mean to interrupt you. That was my question I was going to bring up to the attorney. So, but you beat me to it, and that's good. A couple things I'd like to, before we get into commission comment that some of the speakers brought up. Can you talk about, staff, why the Torrey Pines Community Planning Group did not consider this item? I believe I understand why, but I'd sure like to have you explain that to the public.
I'd like to ask Bernie Turgeon, Senior Planner with the Planning Department, if he's able to respond to that question.
Bernie, are you there?
Looks like maybe he's having, still getting online or being able to connect. But let me go ahead and just briefly address that. As it's mentioned in the staff report, the planning group opted to not hear this project, and under City Council Policy 600-24, the community planning groups are independent organizations, and that the ability for the city to be able to make a decision on a project is not dependent on a recommendation. They are a voluntary group, and as such have chosen not to provide a recommendation on this particular project.
Okay, thank you. The other questions that came up, one of them was Mr. Weber brought up fire issues not being addressed. For this project, did the city's fire department, fire marshal review the project? And I don't know if they're here, but can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, this is Catherine with Development Services. Fire Department did review the project as well as our landscape section, and that was where the alternative compliance measures came into play, and compliance with current building code that also LDR planning may be able to speak to. If Kyle Gosens is on, or Daniel.
I see Kyle, I see Daniel. Just go ahead, either one. Just don't forget to unmute yourselves.
I can speak to landscape. If there was a specific question with regards to the landscape, I can answer that.
No, my question was, and there might be others later for that from the other commissioners. My question was on fire. Was this reviewed by the fire department? Did the fire department feel that, in fact, all fire issues have been addressed?
Yes, this was went through several cycles of review through the fire plan review.
Went through several cycles, and they did find that it passed the muster, so to speak.
I believe so. That's why we're here today. I can't speak to the fire review, but they did review it.
Okay.
Chairman Hoffman, I want to go ahead and clarify.
Yeah.
When we do alternative compliance and for brush management, it's a combination effort of coordination between the landscape review staff and also the fire department. The fire department has to go ahead and approve those alternative compliance. Also, any additional methods, construction methods in regards to like glazing, they would include those types of conditions. So yes, your question is that the fire department did review this in concert with the landscape staff to go ahead and come up with that alternative compliance and provide for those findings to allow for that alternative compliance.
Okay, I appreciate that. And the other part of that I was looking for is the evacuation readiness and actual access, that issues that were brought up by the public. But
did the fire department look at the emergency access component of it? Also, if not, the environmental staff also is on there to see if they went and reviewed it with the deputy fire marshal.
Yeah, originally that fire review had accepted this hearing, and then I saw they declined this morning. So if we can't adequately answer the question at the moment, I can definitely get an answer. But my understanding is that yes, it was evaluated by the fire department through the development services review process, and all issues were cleared.
okay, and and I'm not asking on my own. I'm confident it was reviewed. I'm confident that it wouldn't have gotten this far without being reviewed, but I'm trying to address some of the speakers' comments and hoping to give them the surety from the fire department. So, okay, I'll move on from there. Yeah, those were my main questions, and thank you for the city attorney addressing the environmental CEQA question. So with that, we will then go into commission discussion. Commissioners, I'd like to keep moving forward because of our time constraint. And I hope everyone's okay with that. If not, just raise your hand. If there's some urgency, we can take a couple-minute break, but otherwise we'll keep going. Okay, let's just go down the line. I'll start with Commissioner Austin.
Thank you. It's an interesting discussion today. And I have to admit, I've been aware of this Save Our Field and wondered about it. Because I have to admit, I didn't get it. It seems like there's still going to be a field there. There would still be the opportunity, as long as the old field was made available for public, but the new field could be made available to the public. I don't know what the comparable acreages are, but they're close enough that it seems like that's a moot point. But the big thing is the queuing in for that school, you can see is choked off right now. And so the queuing has to impact the existing residential neighborhood and impact access to the school. With a new design that allows queuing to come all the way back up against the bank on the east side, I think that's really a brilliant solution. It seems like it would help safety. It's going to help traffic. It's going to be much better for the neighborhood. I'm sort of baffled why the Torrey Pines planning group wouldn't have heard this. You know, somebody mentioned that maybe it was because of a lawsuit, and that could have been the case, because it seems strange. But this looks like a very good design. It's clear that there were lots of meetings and a lot of community input. I'm trying to see why would there be this big push to save our field? And the only thing I can think that would be different is it probably does block views, and that seems to ring true. But the reality is, I see that staff's position on this can be supported. I agree with you that I believe CEQA was properly vetted. Unfortunately, you know, having sit on this board for 8 years, we see CEQA being weaponized for the wrong reasons and to protect the hidden agenda. I can't see any reason not to approve this. I'm gonna go ahead and make a motion to approve the staff recommendation and see what others have to say.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve staff's recommendation. And before we go on, I want to make sure that motion, Commissioner Austin, includes the errata sheet that was sent to us October 19th that updated attachment 4. I don't know if that really needs to be put in there, but I just want to make sure that's included.
Yes, that's acceptable and good idea. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second? Commissioner Boomhauer has seconded that motion. So there is a motion on the floor with a second. Commissioner Boomhauer.
I'm going to be brief. When I first reviewed this project and was going through everything before the public comments started to come in, I actually thought we were going to have 2 items on consent today because this seemed like a slam dunk, and I couldn't imagine that there was going to be opposition to it. I think the opposition and the allegations being raised are specious. And I agree with Commissioner Austin that this is a weaponization of CEQA for private gain. I really, really, really wish the NIMBY crowd would come up with some original material, because what we're getting is the tired trope of, I'm not opposed to schools, I just don't want a school here. Substitute housing, it could be the same argument we hear from the anti-housing crowd. I can make the findings. I think staff has done a good job of going through and reviewing things. I do thank the Deputy City Attorney for clarifying the statement about the MND. I was a little confused about that myself, but that makes perfect sense to me. and is a logical way to proceed. And therefore, I'm going to have no problem supporting the motion. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Malbrough.
Okay, thank you. And first of all, I want to thank staff and city attorney for clarifying the issue about the litigation. It helps me, makes me feel a little better and coming up with a decision. As far as community involvement, rarely do you see this type of involvement when they're in the planning stages. It's basically, they gave them a blank sheet of paper and they went through this and got a ton of input, and they did listen to those who attended that process with the design on it. I like the idea of the traffic mitigation of the queuing. I think that's going to make a tremendous difference once this project is completed. As it relates to the fire threat, this structure as it stands right now is their biggest threat. If you do nothing, if you continue to delay this, this is going to be your problem right now. So with the changes of this, you are getting 3 additional fire hydrants, which you don't have. You are getting a sprinkler system, which you do not have. And you're going to have better emergency access, which you do not have now. So in my opinion, this is a great project and I'm in full support of it. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Modane.
Just would like to echo my fellow commissioners' comments. I agree with all of them. I think the traffic queuing can be certainly impactful to a community. However, the school was there first. And I think the district has done a really good plan to mitigate it as best as they can, given the physical constraints of the neighborhood. I think the plan is also very thoughtful when I look at it. And they could have done a lot more here in terms of buildings and size. And I think they kept it very reasonable and efficient while still maintaining a lot of the open space and the buffers that are needed. I don't see a reason why I could deny this project. I think staff did a really good job evaluating this, and the packet we received was really comprehensive. So I support the motion.
Okay, thank you. I'll just give my comments. I think this is a huge improvement from what it was. I think Commissioner Malbrough, I was really happy to hear about your fire comments, because that wasn't much of a concern, but I think you expressed it very well, that this is a huge improvement from a safety point of view. I like the queuing, which has been impacting this neighborhood for years and years, that still there might be a little impact, but this is going to improve it greatly. All the other comments the commissioners made, I agree with, so I can support the motion as well. Thank you to our Deputy City Attorney for explaining and helping with that aspect. That to me was the one that I was struggling with the most, so I appreciate that. So with that, unless there's any other discussion, we will go ahead and take a vote. The motion is to approve the staff recommendation, to approve the resolution and the project. Won't go through all of that, but it's with the one attached amendment to attachment 4. So with that, we'll take our vote. Commissioner Austin.
Aye.
Commissioner Boomhauer.
Aye.
Commissioner Malbrough.
Aye.
Commissioner Modane.
Aye.
Chairman Hoffman is an aye. That passes unanimously. I want to thank all of the people here testifying, both in opposition or in support. Appreciated the comments. It helps a lot to have that kind of input. So with that, unless Tim tells me differently, and I'm seeing him shaking his head no.
We're done.